Hello, my name is Ralf Friedrichs. I'm an addiction recovery coach and the host of the Take Your Life Back Today show. As an addiction recovery coach, I want to share something with you. And let me be crystal clear, because I'd like to leave an everlasting impact upon you. Just imagine being buried alive. You're in a coffin, but you know you're not dead. You try to get out of this coffin, so you push the lid, but the enormous weight upon the lid prevents that lid from opening. You just think you're going to die. But then you think, maybe if I bang on the lid, I'll unsettle the dirt upon the lid itself, and maybe, just maybe, somebody standing on top by my grave might notice and start digging their way down to help me. This is what it's like to find yourself at the lowest point of alcohol and drug addiction. You know you need help, you know you can't do it on your own, but you don't know where to go for help. In reality, there are people standing by your grave. You just don't know that. You just think you're going to die. Usually, though, people don't think about death when they're habitually abusing drugs and alcohol. In order to feed an addiction, you have to be great at repressing the fear of death. I often ask you, my audience, did it ever cross your mind when you were abusing drugs and alcohol that maybe you might take something that the Lord Jesus Christ gave you? It's called life. That you might take that by overdosing. And more selfishly, you might take your life away from the people that love and need you most. People like your children, your grandchildren, your husband, your wife, your mother, your father. With this, let me leave one last note. Don't be the person that I just read about it that waited so long to get help. Waited until they are in their coffin to reach out for help. Instead, be the person that reaches out to me or anyone and says, I need help today. I would like to get help. Reach up to the Lord Jesus and say, God, take over my life. Help me. You can call me at 844-405-HELP, and I promise you, I will help you take back your life. Because too quickly, life can be gone. Life can be over in an instant, folks. This is why it's so important that you reach for someone to help you. There is no shame in asking for help if you have alcoholism, drug addiction, depression, low self-esteem, or any other issue. There is no shame in helping. What is very shameful, my friends, is if you don't ask for help. It's because when you don't ask for help, people don't know you have a problem. People can't help you if you don't tell them you need help. This is why when you reach to God and you ask for His guidance, His wisdom, His protection, this is why when you do that, your life changes. You can ask a human like myself, an addiction recovery coach, a life coach, for help. And I will guide and direct you on things that I know as a human being. But when you ask God for guidance and direction, and you give your life to Jesus Christ, He will change your life forever. So even what me, as an addiction recovery coach and a life coach, can help you with, He can a million times improve. But God will utilize me to help you with facts and things that are here on this earth. But with the glory of God within your heart, everything will start getting better. Today I'd like to talk about the perception and reality. What is perception? What is reality, folks? How we perceive things in life sometimes is not reality. How we perceive things sometimes in life can actually hurt us, because reality will tell you differently than what you're perceiving. Let's look at the Webster Dictionary. What is the definition of reality? Reality is the true situation that exists, the real situation, something that actually exists or happens, a real event, a real occurrence, a real situation. Now let's look at the definition of perception in the Webster Dictionary. The way you think about or understand someone or something. The way you think about, not the way it is, but the way you think about is a perception. The ability to understand or notice something easily is a perception. The way that you notice or understand something using one of your senses is a perception. Today's topic is reality and perception. I'd like to go over 6 steps to untangle reality and perception. And this is on a personal story that I have for a flight from Alaska a while back from work. We often confuse perception with reality. That is, we mistake how we understand things for the way they really are. Our thoughts and feelings seem real to us, so we conclude that they must be true. But what if they were not true, including even our most deeply held ideas and beliefs about ourselves, about others, and the world themselves or itself? Let me show you on how to separate reality from perception so that you can see things as they really are. Remember the definition of reality, the true situation that exists, a real situation. What is perception? Perception is the lens through which we view reality, ourselves, others, and the world around us. However, the lens often gets confused what is being viewed through it. To use a personal example, on the flight back home from work in Alaska, the pilot announced that we were flying through and around a big storm. He asked that everyone remain in their seat as much as possible, as there was going to be very significant turbulence. Neither meals nor drinks were served at that particular time. Even the flight attendants remained seated throughout most of that occurrence. Personally, I didn't know an airplane could move the way ours did, the up and down, the shaking back and forth. I braced for the worst due to all the instability. But what clued me in the fact that my perception might not correspond with to the reality was a man sitting right behind me on that particular flight. He was fuming that the crew was not serving food despite these minor bumps. That eventually got me to think. It may come as a severe shock if you haven't given much thought to this subject before. I know I do all the time. But our precious, cast-in-stone objective beliefs are often totally contrasts to any reality whatsoever. Or more accurately, they are our perception of reality rather than reality itself. To the man sitting behind me, the flight crew was overreacting. I suspected he was a frequent flyer who had been on flights just so many times that has experienced this turbulence. In the end, we were all hungry and thirsty, but landed on time without an incident, and I thank God for that. The lens through which I viewed the seemingly extreme turbulence led me to believe that we were in danger when we really weren't. My distress on this flight was only useless, but it also instilled the fear of flying thereafter for a while, which I overcame. I became hypersensitive to any turbulence. In thinking about your life, consider that the way you're looking at a problem, challenge, or issue might be a part of the problem itself. Now, reality. What is reality? Reality is true state of things. In essence, it's how things really are. Whether we perceive them to be as such or not, things in themselves are inherently neutral. It is who we supply the perception and build our beliefs with them. Reality transcends both expectations and beliefs. How our reality appears to us says a lot about our perceptions. Unfortunately, the perception that my flight could easily go down suggests that something was seriously wrong. All the jerking back and forth also produced a psychological reaction in my body that made me very uncomfortable. The fear of death came over me. Emotionally, I interpreted this feeling negatively and experienced much anxiety. Thus, my thoughts easily fell in the line which I was experiencing, especially given the intensity of constantly reinforcing that. A vicious cycle if you will, to let perception interfere with reality. Are your problems, challenges, or issues extremely difficult to overcome or seemingly unsurmountable? Are you confused? We often don't realize how our perceptions cloud reality. They seem like one and the same, but they're really not. Remember what I said. Perception is the way you think or understand. Reality is facts, the real thing. In my case, what I was experiencing strongly suggested what was really happening. This was particularly hard to discern given the feedback loop described above in what I read about the difference between perception and reality. The pilot did occasionally check in with us, always speaking calmly and never expressing any concerns. However, my filter told me he didn't want to alarm us, anyone on board, and made us all feel like he was in complete control, which he was, because that was reality. My perception was that he was just trying to sugarcoat a bad situation. I pictured him and everyone else in the cockpit sweating, worrying of what was going to happen next, but reality was totally different. Untangling perception from reality. Despite the big overlap between our perceptions and reality, there is indeed a gap between them. We just have to look carefully to see instead of jumping to conclusions based on some, but not all, available evidence. So how exactly do you untangle perception from reality? Here are 6 steps, and just follow along here. Step number 1. First, think about an issue or problem that you'd like to resolve. Really get to the heart of who's bothering you or what you'd like to shift or change. Number 2, next consider how you might be perpetrating the problem or the issue. Brainstorm as many of these types of contributing factors as you can, however unbelievable or extreme they might seem. Pay particular attention to the thoughts and feelings that might contribute to them. Don't worry if it feels like you're overly blaming yourself. Number 3, when you have exhausted all of your ideas, ask a few others who know you well for their thoughts as well. Number 4, then evaluate both their and your responses in number 2 and number 3 that we discussed. Underline any that appear more than once. Finally, circle those that you yourself had also put down. Number 5, assume that any of the reasons above might be true, beginning with those you circled. Find as many ways to support or justify this as you can, even if it doesn't initially seem true. If after none of the circled items seem to fit, then repeat the process with what you underlined or repeating 1 through 5 by redefining the problem. And number 6, once you feel like you've got it, redefine your problem or issue and brainstorm solutions accordingly. How well are you able to untangle perception from reality, folks? Let me know by emailing me at Ralf, R-A-L-F, at Take Your Life Back Today Show. Remember, how do you exactly untangle perception from reality? Follow these 6 steps again. Follow these 6 steps, please. Step number 1, first think about an issue or problem that you'd like to resolve. What issue or problem could that possibly be? Write that down. Really get to the heart what's bothering you, or what you'd like to shift or change what is bothering you. Number 2, consider how you might be perpetrating the problem or the issue. Brainstorm as many of these types of contributing factors as you can, however unbelievable or extreme they might seem. Pay particular attention to the thoughts and feelings that might contribute to them. Don't worry if it feels like you're over blaming yourself. Number 3, when you have exhausted all of your ideas, ask a few others you know that know you well for their thoughts towards the situation that you are trying to find out the difference between a perception and a reality. Number 4, then evaluate both there and your responses in 2 and 3. Underline any that appear more than once. Finally, circle those that you yourself had also put down. Number 5, assume that any of the reasons above might be true, beginning with those you circled. Find as many ways to support or justify this as you can, even if it doesn't initially seem true. If after that none of the circle items seem to fit, then repeat this process with the underline of repeating steps 1 through 5, redefining the problem, and then finally number 6, once you feel like you've got it, redefine your problem or your issue and brainstorm solutions accordingly. How well you are untangling perception from reality depends on you. Remember what the true definitions were, because a lot of people are confused by perception and reality. Let's talk about reality. What is reality? God is real. That's a fact. Jesus died on the cross and rose again. That is real. That's a fact. There's no perception there. God is real. That is a true fact. The true situation that exists is reality. The real situation is reality. Something that actually exists or happens or has happened in the past is reality. A real event, an occurrence, a situation. Now, perception. I look out right now and I perceive, because it's overcast, that it might rain. Perception is the way you think about or understand. The ability to understand or notice something easily. The way you notice or understand something using one of your senses. And one of my senses are my eyes. Here are reality facts. Not presumption or perception. Reality is as if that you drink too much, you become an alcoholic. That if you use drugs, you get addicted to drugs. Reality also will tell you that by abusing drugs and alcohol, you have the risk of an overdose. Those are facts. Now, perception might be there. There are some people out there that will say, okay, I can control my alcoholism. I can control my drugs. That is a perception, because the facts will tell you that your body can only take so much. Like a car that does not get proper maintenance, the car will die, and so will you if you continuously use drugs and alcohol. Facts is that God is standing right nearby, waiting for you to ask Him to be part of your life. That's a fact. That's not a perception. The fact that God exists is a fact. Fact is that Jesus died on the cross and came back. And the fact is that our existence in this world is quick and it vapors away. Fact is that my mother was hit by a truck and she's gone. That's a fact. There is no perception in that. Fact is that my mother, because she believed in God, is in heaven. That's a fact. That's not a perception. Separate perception from reality each and every day in your lives, and your lives become better. What is reality. What has happened in life is reality. Perceptions are what could happen. How you perceive things when you look at things. If they're not real, they're perceptions. But when you look in the Bible, those are facts. That's reality. When you look in the novel, or a paperback, or a magazine, that could be perception, but the Bible is fact. Reality. I hope to God that you understand the difference between perception and reality. And I hope that each and every one of you out there who might be abusing drugs and alcohol, who might have depression or any other situation, reaches out to someone people like myself, life coaches, addiction recovery coaches, or people like Larry Geis, who's a good friend of mine with over 30 years experience. You could reach him at 516 458 2741. You can go to www.odysseyconsultant.org. Larry Geis. And I tell people like you, it doesn't matter where you came from, it doesn't matter where you've been. What matters is that you're reaching out for help. But I will tell you this, folks. You can reach out to me, Larry Geis, at 516-458-2741, or any other addiction recovery coach or life coach. You can reach out to us, but I will tell you, you need to include a fact. And the fact is you need to include your higher power, the Lord Jesus Christ. Having God in your life is the first step in your recovery. Having a mentor, someone who can walk you through phases of recovery, like myself or Larry, is the second step. But without God in your life, all other things will not work out. Ask God for guidance and direction. Ask God for forgiveness. And your life will change, and I promise you it will change quickly. Folks, I hope to God that you separate perception from reality. I hope to God you reach out to God for guidance and direction. And I hope to God that you give me a call if you have any questions whatsoever at 844-405-HELP, or you can text me at 631-599-0218, or you can email me at Ralf, R-A-L-F, at TakeYourLifeBackTodayShow.com. Together, as brothers and sisters, we can all live a happy life. And together, as brothers and sisters, we need to make sure that we do our daily prayer and remember what I said in the previous video. When you take your slippers off at night, don't just leave them by the edge of your bed. Push them under your bed. That way, when you wake up in the morning, you'll have to drop to your knees to retrieve those slippers. And while you're on your knees, thank the Lord Jesus. Thank God that you have another day on this earth, because there are many people, including my mother, that do not. Life can be over like that, and I have learned that on May 31st, 2016, when when my mother went home to God. But at 1:47, she was still at Stop and Shop shopping, walking home, maybe less than half a mile away from home. At 3:05, was hit by a truck. And that showed me how precious and how quick life is there and gone. Let today be the first day of your new life by reaching up to God and saying, God, I am a sinner. I ask you for guidance and direction. I ask you for forgiveness. And I promise you, folks, your life will start changing immediately. And then you can reach out to me at 844-405, and I will also help guide and direct you through recovery with your addictions, whatever other situations you have. But reach out to people like me. But more importantly, reach out to God, and let today be the new day of your new life. Separate reality from perception. Include God. Give me a call, 844-405-HELP, and I will help you take back your life. May God bless you.